Hello, Jim. How are you?
Oh, pretty good, Gail. Yourself?
I am good. Excuse me while I stay off camera and finish the last bites of my dinner here.
I hope it was a good one.
It was some pretty lame leftovers, I have to be honest. It was nothing exciting tonight.
This is the problem when you live alone and you have to cook for yourself. The meetings, the meals are definitely not memorable in most cases. At least that's true for me.
No, so true for me too. The nights that sometimes it's like a bowl of cereal and Brussels sprouts or some other odd combination are
Yeah,
quite frequent.
This sounds very familiar to me.
Mhm. Although at the Shutesbury Athletic Club tonight, they're doing a cookout with like hot dogs and hamburgers.
Oh, really? Oh,
And I considered for a second going over there earlier, but I kind of missed the time window.
well, I've noticed that traffic at the AC has picked up quite a bit. There's been a lot of, well, this is Friday night or Thursday night.
It's Thursday, yeah.
Yeah, that's a bit unusual then. I just transferred over from the Conservation Commission. This is going to be a meeting tonight, which is going to be a somewhat dramatic one from what I understand, but the dramatic parts haven't come yet. So I'm waiting to see what happens perhaps after this meeting. And
What's the controversial issue tonight?
Well, it all has to do with Lotto 32 and the
Oh, yeah.
and the NOI that's being submitted by is it Fussin O'Neill? I'm not quite either that or OTO. I'm not quite sure. There's a lot of heavyweights on there explaining what's going to happen.
All right.
And there everybody is.
Oops,
But I can't see our leader.
It's because I'm stuffing my face. That's why you can't see me. Well, welcome everyone. I don't think we're going to have Craig tonight.
Did I just disappeared myself? I have to come back.
Yep. Okay.
But Gail, what have you done?
What have I done?
Yeah. Your hair.
Oh, my hair. Well, it's not pulled back for once. And also I had it lightened for the summer. Yep. So
You don't have your swag hat on. Is that what you mean, Steve?
yeah, I'm not covering up my head with a hat for once.
Yeah.
So all right, well, I guess we'll just get started here. Thanks for the reschedule for helping me find another time to do this. My last Wednesday just went completely off the rails with Boston traffic. So one thing that I got from Grace Banish is some more compliance things around Zoom meetings because they're going to continue indefinitely now, which is wonderful. I was worried that they were going to stop them, which was going to make all of our lives more difficult. So what she recommends is at the start of every meeting that we just read a little statement saying what the meeting is and who's there. So that's going to sound something like, welcome to the meeting of the MLP Board and Broadband Committee. I'm Gail Huntress, MLP Manager, facilitating the meeting. This meeting is fully remote. Participating remotely, we have MLP board members, Jim Hemingway, Graham Sefton, and Stephen Schmidt. In absent tonight is Craig Martin, Broadband Committee at large. So that is our statement.
There you
Well,
go.
I'm glad to get that clarified. Because
Right? You were confused, but now you know why we're here. in case this wasn't explaining what's happening here, now everybody knows. So as usual, first order of business is to approve the meeting minutes from April 19th. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Great.
Second,
Thank you. All in favor?
aye.
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 Great. Everyone in favor of that, unanimous. And let's move right into our hut report. Graham, tell me what's going on with our HVAC.
Sure.
I got your email and I was confused because I got 3 invoices from Jamrog.
Oh, that's cheeky. That's cheeky considering they turned up yesterday. I let them in at 8:30, and a guy called Adrian this time. I hadn't met him before. He hadn't been there before, but he had a couple of boxes of I assume to be plug-in boards, and I went off and did stuff in town, and I came back on the way home, and just see if it was working yet, and it does not work. So this is there was a diagnostic visit initially, and this is the second repair visit with, I didn't talk to Adrian, so I don't know. I was gonna figure to leave that to you to ask him what happened.
Yes, what is going on here? So
Yeah.
the 3 invoices I have are the first one was for the mouse nest problem.
Yeah, sure.
So and then the parts to get that new lever. How do you say it? Lever?
A louver.
Louver. The louver motor.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
louver.
louver and the replacement of the wire. And then the second one was the call for the system down from the storm where they did the troubleshooting. So that was just no parts, just labor and time on that one.
Yeah.
And then the third one is the cost for the new sensor board, which they did on 4/28, but that didn't work. And now there's a 4th invite that's missing from yesterday where they did something else and it didn't work either.
It didn't work either. Yeah. So I don't know how they're I'm not sure how they did with the fire station repair, but they may have struggled with that as well. Becky said something about that, but
Could we back up just a step here? So last I knew, it was the board, the sensor board, the electric control for it was the problem. It was diagnosed problem.
Yeah, that was the second diagnosis. Yeah.
Second.
Yes. Yeah. The first one was one of the other boards, the control board, I think they called it, which is pretty generic. But the second one was the sensor board. They said, oh, when you point the sensor, it's not responding, it's not beeping. It must be that as well, or instead of.
Oh, well, then let's back up a couple steps then. I mean, the last I knew, it was this, it was the control, the electronic control for it had died. And that made sense. It got zapped by the power surge. So did they replace that?
Yes, they did, and it did no good. And that was when he said, "Oh, the sensor board isn't working either, or as well, or instead." So so
they replaced the main board. That doesn't solve the problem.
Yep.
So they say it needs this other board. Is that what they replaced yesterday?
That's what they replaced yesterday.
And it's still not working.
Yeah. I asked the technician Adrian whether he'd been in the game a while and whether he, was very familiar with troubleshooting things and stuff like that. But he hadn't troubleshotted in the first place, so he just turned up with the thing. I don't know, because I didn't talk to him. I don't know whether he totally knew by the time he left what the problem really is or what the other problem really is. there may be multiple problems with anything that's been hit by lightning by a surge of whatever sort it was. So yeah, they haven't done spectacularly well. That's for damn sure. Oops, shouldn't say that. Don't have damn in the. I
Graham.
forget this. I forget this is videoed. I shouldn't say
Graham,
anything. Yeah.
did they by any chance check the power supply?
I did
I know
raise
we
that
discussed
very
this.
point. Yes, I raised that very point as Jim and I have discussed. That the thing that usually gets knocked out by a utility surge is the very front end of it, the diodes and the rectifier part that makes the 12 volts or 5 volt DC, whatever it is. So, it's kind of like, no one's talked about that. And Adrian didn't want to make any, Adrian was coming to it, innocent, naive. He didn't want to say what he thought before I left. So anyhow, I'm hoping that he knows what it is. Like I said, I almost phoned him this morning, but I figured because you'll be the person dealing with the business side of it, Gail, that you're probably I'll leave that in your hands. So
Yeah, I'll call him tomorrow. I wanted to
Yeah.
talk to you tonight to make sure
Yeah.
we're on the same page, but figure out what the next steps they recommend and if they can guarantee their work or something going forward, because so far we paid for 2 labor charges and 2 parts that are still haven't fixed it.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing there's maybe really no good way to diagnose a part like that. If do we have the one that they removed? Is a way to diagnose?
Jim was
somebody's
curious.
dead?
Jim made the very
Yeah.
question. I took pictures of it. It didn't have with integrated circuits. The chances of being able to see. I mean, the thing that gets jumped by a surge is micrometers small. It's so it's packed in potentially. Sometimes you see, as Jim will attest, a burned part on a PC, a printed circuit board, but you often don't see that anymore. So
Yeah, particularly where this was not a lightning strike, but in fact it was a power source.
Yeah. So
No, it would be more like, do they have a test unit they can plug it into to see if it functions?
well, I actually suggest. First up, I thought, oh well, we've got an exact similar unit right there, but because it's been surge damaged, I didn't want him to stick something in that. I didn't suggest testing it in ours as a test bed because that's our only heat pump now.
No, I wouldn't mess with that. But if they would have,
they should
plug it in to see if that is really the problem.
I think they need a better diagnostic, list of, test points. I mean, it shouldn't be. There's 20 things it could be, and they should be able to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But that didn't happen. So
they're not techies. So let's put it that way.
Well, I think they're not. I guess they're not. I guess they don't repair them all that much.
No, they don't.
Maybe it's a good sign that they don't, that they don't go out very often.
Except for the fact that there's a whole slew of people in Shutesbury who have run into similar problems during that same storm. So
yeah.
So there's all kinds of problems with these units, design problems most likely.
Yeah. Well, it's lucky that we didn't have the protocol that they had set it up with, of leaving a lead and a lag.
Both.
They initially suggested
up,
lead and lag both powered, and one set on 73 and one set on 71, so they don't both work and they don't fight each other. But I figured that was not anyway, so we didn't do that. So So and talking about the hut, so more on the hut. Steve, sorry that Jim and I were a little late getting there. The reason was, Steve, was because I felt like I had to tell Jim beforehand that we weren't going to have the fun of unplugging anything. So I ended up meeting Jim at his place before, just to warn him that, because Jim, I just know how
Yeah.
you like to. You're a hands-on guy.
That's
so
right.
anyhow, so therefore we were a little late, and then the deer delayed us even more. So, but sure enough,
And since I was already 15 minutes late,
yeah, I know.
gosh, they'd come and go. I couldn't believe you guys would be in and out of there in 15 minutes. That just didn't seem right.
No.
Yeah.
Retired guys, retired old
Yeah.
nerds.
So I hung
don't
out
do
another
anything that
15
fast.
minutes and well,
Yeah.
missed them.
Anyhow, so it was very straightforward. We look in there, we see the plug connected right in there. On there, there's a duplex receptacle, as most equipment now has, for just convenience, of anyone who wants to, as we know they had to drill holes when they initially put in the optional extras. So and I didn't unplug it because Steve pointed out, well, until Kohler actually says what it should be doing and why it's doing it. But one thing that I did realize, I talked to Mary Ellen Kennedy, is that her last name? I bumped into her.
New Salem?
Yeah, New Salem. I bumped into her at an event on the weekend, and she said they have trouble with their Kohler. They've been having trouble with their Kohler generator, and it'd been turning itself off or something like that during the power failure, and that they had to keep on checking it or something like that. So they are it's a challenge to keep an emergency generator definitely on top of its game. But one thing that I did learn, and it's pretty what do you say, it's not contentious, is that because we don't have a load, emergency generators for buildings, they start within 10 seconds, so that the elevator keeps running, the people don't suddenly fall downstairs in the dark, stuff like that. But we don't have a 10-second, we need an emergency generator, but we don't have a 10-second need, because our UPS stuff in the hut, which is all of the rest of the load, is got more than an hour's worth of staying power, and so it would make sense to exercise the option that automatic transfer switches often have, and ours does have the option to turn on after to run for 2 or 3 minutes and then to pick up the load. And the benefit of that is that it increases the longevity of your generator and increases the reliability of your generator. So that's just something that we should check with Pechoric. Well, first up, when we see Sheldon HG people next week, we can ask them, hey, the generator is better looked after if we don't immediately pick up the load. Is that okay with you guys? The benefit also of that is it tests the UPS stuff, that it is all working under load for the 2 minutes. So you lose power. If the generator doesn't pick up the load for 2 minutes, then the UPS stuff in the hut the batteries and everything has to work in the hut. So it's not a bad test. It's not very, shouldn't be much of a demand on it, but it would be a question to Sheldon HGE.
Right. And the setting is on the generator, basically saying for the generator, pause. Don't
Yes.
start right away if the power goes out. Wait.
Yes.
20,
The automatic transfer.
2 minutes. 2 minutes
The
before you
automatic
kick on if there's no power. Okay.
Yeah. The automatic transfer switch, the ATS, is the brains of when the load gets moved. The other interesting thing I realized is that because we were thinking about generators and reliability and stuff, that it would be about, if it ever happens that the hut generator ceases working during a long power outage and the town hall generator is still running, it's about a half hour's work of an electrician, quite safely. I worked out how to do it quite without anyone having to work on something that's hot, to pick up a a kilowatt, 1.5 kilowatts from the town hall generator, from the emergency panel board in the town hall, and use the feed that runs back down. First up, I thought, oh, you'd run a temporary cable down to the hut, but no, you don't have to, because when the power fails from the utility, the main feed running from the town hall down to the hut is not being used, and it would be trivially simple for an electrician, about a half hour's work, to just basically connect that to the emergency generator. There's no risk to it. There's no backfeeding or anything like that. And so anyhow, if it ever happens, we just ask an electrician to do that.
Although
Okay.
our generator is a lot newer than the town hall generator, so it doesn't seem.
Oh yeah, no, it's not
that-
even worth worrying about because of that reason.
Yeah.
But it, if it happened, then it's nice to have two generators. Just like it's nice to have two
HVACs.
HVACs, yeah. And a surge can actually wreck a generator. I mean, there are things that can mess up a generator. So,
Graham,
Grant,
yeah.
the transfer time, it's currently how long and what?
Less
would you
than
like to
10
change?
seconds.
Less
It's
than 10
totally
seconds.
set as an emergency
Right,
generator
right, okay, 10
for
seconds.
safety.
And you'd like to change it to 2 minutes, right?
I would ask our network operators and such if
Okay. All right.
they would mind. So that's the first question. 2 minutes probably would warm it up on anything. 3 minutes is another warm up sort of a time. It is possible that there is an electronic board that has to be plugged into the automatic transfer switch. It might be an option that our automatic transfer switch wasn't equipped with, but it's a very trivial little change according to the manual.
Graham, I'm curious, have you talked with or had
I'm getting too warm in this yellow jacket and it's too tough on your eyes. Oh, yeah, have I talked to who?
or had communication with Kohler about this?
I didn't want to start there because I'd have to find an applications engineer. I first wanted to find out, okay, if we can have a warm-up period that is not loaded, then the conversation with Kohler is this sufficient to warm it up in 3 seasons of the year to not need, I'm sure it is, to not need a block heater running in the spring, summer, and autumn.
Yeah. The reason I was asking you is one of the emails we had back and forth. I thought you had, it sounded to me like you had been in contact either with Kohler or with somebody else, because you said, I can't bring the email up right now, but something about.
I looked up what a couple of generator companies had written on their websites. So I might have quoted that.
Yeah, you said because you said 40 degree, it should be.
Oh yes,
at 40 degrees.
Yes, yeah, I saw the specs on one of the on the thing that they don't turn them off until 60 degrees. And at that point I thought, oh well, let's just change the thing. It doesn't need to pick up in 10 seconds. It doesn't need to take the shock. And that's why it would extend the life of the generator. I mean, it's not like it has to do it many times a year, but it's not dozens of times a year, but it's a few times a year. So.
Does it when it does?
No. Oh, the other benefit, and I'll let Shell talk to it, because they thought that maybe the 10-second pickup had not worked properly and that it had maybe bounced. Gail, they might have said something to you too, because their UPS did end up running for some time, and they suspected it was because the generator saw the power go out, started up, and then the power came back briefly, and the generator said, oh, no, we don't have to, within that 10 seconds, it's probably 7 seconds or 6 seconds. By the time it turned up ready at 6 seconds, the power had come back on briefly, and then it just, the generator didn't do anything again until sometime later. That was what Shell thought.
This as part of this, all as part of that surge.
Yeah.
Down, it wasn't a
Yeah,
clean
it bounced.
break.
It possibly
Yeah.
bounced. We don't know. It's 2 a.m. and no one was, only, but and the bounce would have been, a contributing factor to damaging things. So anyhow, we can start off the conversation with when we see the guys at the hut.
Yeah. So, as long as we're talking about it, why don't we talk about that? So, on the 6th, is the date, that they are, going to be with us. And, are all of you planning on coming?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, great. Wonderful.
You,
Good.
you couldn't keep us away from that.
I knew you'd want to come. Yeah. So one thing I wanted to ask you is, several months ago, one of the things we had talked about is getting another review of our network architecture from either Shelled or Holyoke. And so as long as the 3 of you are going to be there, what I'm going to ask is if they can do a mini show and tell of the hut, and then, combine it with a brief review of how our network is set up. And I assume they'll have a laptop with them. We're not a big enough group that we're going to need a screen or anything. So I'll either ask them to, do it on a laptop or give us some little handouts, just a diagram to follow. And I think it'll be neat too, because they can point to things in the hut and say, like, this goes to Springfield, this happens here. So I'll make a request for that.
Yeah. Because the handout we got from them, I think Jim Crowley had put together, was really good and really helpful, but it wasn't quite complete. It's got,
Yeah.
so.
Great. All right. So we've covered the hut, maintenance, in service. So I did get a monthly report that I'm going to be sharing with Graham, for our just basically all the integrity calls that come in. We're hovering around 50-ish a month, which is to be expected. That's exactly what we had with Crocker. So, nothing out of the ordinary there. And what else is coming? So we have town meeting coming up on the Saturday after this one. So I will be there. Jim, can you again set up Wi-Fi for everybody?
Yes, I'm since I switched over to the Calyx router, I have my old router, and I'm going to use that because that's the only one I know that works. I've got a couple of sort of not so great
yeah, let's not use
routers
those.
here. and we're only going to set up one, and not two. I think one will be perfectly adequate to take care of the folks, because most people will be trying to connect either to the AT&T tower perhaps, or the Verizon tower down at, in Pelham. So there wouldn't be that much pressure on the router to connect, everybody there. And it may not be a well-attended meeting on top of it all. So
yeah, I think it'll be pretty low this year. Yeah. So let's just make sure that we name it something like, name it town hall guest and no password protection on it.
right.
So that
yeah.
we don't have to, is that possible with our routers?
No, I don't think so. I last year we had Paul Lyons tell everybody that the password was password.
Was password. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. It's all coming back to me now.
And I
And
just-
I don't think, I think it has to have a password. I think.
has to-
I think it has to have a password. They won't
Yeah.
let you do it without
Yeah.
one. And I'll just title the SSIDs, town ATM 1 and ATM 2 for 2.4 and 3 gigahertz. Or
Sounds
5
great.
gigahertz.
I'll bring that the little thing that we can stick on the podium again that says
Sure.
password is password.
Okay.
And Jim, you might find there's a setting for how many channels, how many, yeah, because I
I'll
remember
increase it
the
to the
def-
max.
the
It's-
default was lower. It was
Yeah,
too low.
that-
That was our
that's right.
first, yeah. So,
All right, I'm just making a note to remember that for town meeting.
I'm going to be away that weekend, so.
Okay, no worries.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully I'll remember how to get into the hut. Oh, Graham, now, can I route the wires underneath the door? What do I do?
You know, it's nice to have the door closed just so some
Oh,
little
yeah, I
kid
do.
doesn't go in there. There's the just above the as you're walking out the door up the right hand side, there's a couple of little rubber covers on the on a pass through,
right,
about
yeah.
7 feet up.
Oh, the rubber, okay.
Yeah. So
Okay,
just put the rubber things where they won't get lost, and so the rain doesn't come in later, and pop
Okay.
it through those. They're like 4-inch clearance.
Okay, no
All right,
problem.
and I'll be there to help you get into the hut if needed.
Yes, that's true. I think I remember the combination. Graham was demonstrating it very, very, very graciously,
Mm.
when we were there a short time ago.
I guess I shouldn't read it off now because we're being.
No,
no,
you
no,
shouldn't.
don't.
Don't read it off. It's a
Yeah.
public meeting.
I've made that mistake before.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's move into a quick financial report.
Just
Steve, yeah.
For that town meeting, there's also, I just got this notice that there's the FinCom budget. It's not a hearing, informational session coming up.
Mhm.
You know, somebody potentially could ask a question about the broadband budget since it is part of the, of course, it's not actually part of the town budget. It's a separate
Well, it's a
item. Anyway,
separate warrant.
It's not. I'm gonna try to be there.
Okay.
Just for my own edification. And the nice thing is that our broadband article is always like, the second or whatever article, and so they're just going to move down it. And yeah, I'm
Yeah,
gonna
but
try to be there on Tuesday. And also Jim, I assume, is going to be there in case
Yes.
That's right.
in case
yeah,
I can't
can-
make it, that you'll
Exactly.
be there as
That's
part
right.
of
You,
FinCom.
yeah, that's right. You could cover that, Jim. Okay.
Yeah. I don't think it's coming up second or third. I think it's a little
No.
bit further down the list.
It's-
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I haven't looked at the warrant
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
yet. Is it how far down is it?
I think
It's
it's
bad.
10th or 11th or something like that.
Okay.
Or maybe further, but.
Oh
Yeah,
no,
it's-
we've lost our number 2 spot. We
I
lost
know,
it.
I know.
See,
But-
I got that last year because I had to leave at 11.
That's
Ah.
right.
So I told them, look, I'm
Yeah.
making this presentation. I got to leave at 11. Please put me up front. And, Rita goes, well, everybody wants to go first, but then they did put us right at the.
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, I plan to go to town meeting and be there for most of the day, so it's fine. And 10 or 11 isn't bad. I mean, it's not 30, so yeah, that'll work. All right, so financial report. Let me share the screen here. So everything as usual is looking really good. We're almost to the end of the fiscal year. We're going to have a nice healthy balance left over. And Jim, I've already sent you
Yeah.
these.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So yeah, and I just not much to talk about here. We're on budget for most things we've gone over in, I think it was there's one of these line items that we've gone over in. I think it may have been either supplies or hut operations, but nothing to get worried about. We're in great shape.
I noticed it in the minutes and flagged it. That we probably, because we're a non-profit in some sense, a municipal thing, we probably, that bottom line should probably say current surplus slash deficit.
Instead of profit loss, current surplus.
Because right, especially in the minutes, I thought, oh, someone's going to think, oh, we're making a profit, and it kind of like, it doesn't quite, and I can only ask questions, which is I don't think we'll ever make a profit. So anyway, yeah. It's semantics, but someone might one day think, well, what does the MLP do with their profits?
We buy great shirts. Actually,
That's
we don't.
right. Yeah.
No, we do not. It was a
No.
gift.
Yeah, I know. They'll be looking at the hats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. I'll change that to, I just change it to surplus deficit.
Yeah, it's a surplus. Yeah.
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 And
Sounds good.
even though the title of the spreadsheet is still P&L.
Yeah, well, I know. And
That's-
some things are just embedded, aren't they? So
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Let's see. Steve, thanks for that heads up about the tree. I drove the road 3 times, and that was the only place where I saw it. So they whoever must have taken it care of. For everyone else, Steve on the S-curve saw a tree leaning against our fiber, reported to me, and I said, well, I'm going down into town tomorrow and Tuesday. I'll check it out. So I was coming home around 3 p.m. and I drove by it, and all I saw was like all the evergreens that were lopped off by National Grid. And I drove back down, like, well, that's, I couldn't really get a good look. So I parked the car and I got out and walked, but there was no leaning trees. So they must have taken care of it.
I saw
So
them
Gabe-
working on the road today, doing tree work. So
And Gail emailed that response to me. So I went out the next day to take a look, and what I had seen was gone. So
Well, they changed the radius from what, if you could draw a circle around the high tension wires, the radius to which they're supposed to take care of branches and everything else has now been expanded. Was it 20 feet? Isn't it, Graham?
Wow.
I don't
20
know,
or 30
but-
feet, but it's clear that they're responsible to even stuff that's below our fiber, as opposed to it's just what's above that they care about. But apparently there's been a change in the regulation as of very recently that means that they have to actually do more clearing down to where the phone and fiber lines are located as well. So that's certainly beneficial for us.
Yeah, Don Wakaluk
Yeah.
said last week that he was working with the National Grid foresters to take care of some of the big hazard trees on the paved portions that Jim and he identified. Unfortunately, the work is going to coincide with town meeting for traffic purposes. So he's trying to coordinate with Shutesbury PD to make sure there's enough officers taking care of the tree people and then also parking and everything. But maybe he can change the date. So he's doing his best to press them to get rid of anything that's threatening our fiber. He'll let us know the outcome of that, of when National Grid does that work. What else? Assuming you want me to continue as manager, we actually do have to do an official vote, the annual vote to reappoint for the next fiscal year.
I move we reappoint Gail Huntress as MLP manager another year.
I second that motion.
Any discussion? Hearing none.
Great. All right.
Put it to vote. All
All right,
ayes.
Aye.
since this is an official one, I'll call you by name. So Sefton,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Hemingway.
Aye.
Great, thank you. In other news, I did do a cleanup on our webpage. So with the new Drupal version, it is a bit easier to get the fonts on the page to match better, so it doesn't look so scattered and busy. I did some header and bolding consistency and added some horizontal lines to divide up sections, like here's the phone questions, here's the router questions. So I think it looks better. You know, I don't think we need to keep pursuing this. We don't have enough of our website usage to warrant building a whole new website or doing it in WordPress like we discussed, but it is better now, and going forward, I think I can just maintain it better with a new Drupal. Let's see. The Mass Tech is setting up a digital equity summit in Worcester on the June 13th. I'm going to go to that just to keep tabs on what's going on in our state, as opposed to not opposed, but for federal monies that are coming out. We haven't talked about it in a while, but I did try to apply for some of the digital equity conversations that they were having, and Shutesbury is ineligible. We're one of the few districts that has no universal free lunch for all the students. We're in this weird pocket where we're not automatically eligible for federal monies. There is a process where we can still apply for some of it, but we need letters of support from our town administrator. I asked Becky for this 3 months ago, still haven't gotten anything back. And also, we don't have a whole lot that we could apply to use this money for, right? The thing where I think it could become useful is if we wanted to get technology for our, like free Chromebooks or laptops. Some towns are going after that.
For just people that can't afford a computer, is that the
Yep.
like school kids or
School
Right.
kids, seniors. It's like I'm gonna call it like the second tier of digital equity. The first tier is getting broadband to the people. The second and third tiers are making sure that they're educated. They're calling digital literacy, and then also have adequate devices. So I'm going to keep tabs on this. I'm going to learn more. It's not one of these things that's an urgent need for our town. One of the things I would use the money for if we got it was to have some kind of third-party consultant do a big survey of all the people in town and collate the data to see if there actually is a need, right? I'm assuming there isn't a need because we have such a high take rate, and we have people are paying their bills. It's the lowest broadband rates in the state, but we don't really know. Are there people who are having trouble using the internet, that they need education, that they need better devices, that they need upgrades for their devices? So
of course the education's an ongoing thing. I mean, we're all pretty tech savvy, but I certainly get things, what do I do? What's this mean? How do I do this? It's like a constant issue.
I think artificial intelligence is going to make things easier. There'll be more and more things where I dare not say ask, hey Siri, but because things start popping around the house.
Yeah, don't say it. Don't say it out loud. It's like a conjuring.
And there's a hilarious Saturday Night Live thing where these old people are asking, trying to remember Amanda, Alexa. They can't quite remember the name but yeah, I think
Susie.
Things will get easier as well. believe. So, which is fortunate because, you know, I'm getting sillier. So it's good if tech gets smarter.
Yeah. I want artificial intelligence to be like smart enough so that I can ask it things like, hey, do I like this brand of tomato sauce? I can't remember.
That's
Yeah.
yeah. Do I have any tomato sauce in the house?
Do I? Yeah. What did I order at this restaurant last time that I really liked?
Now that could be useful.
Yeah.
Well, it'll happen. The joke about the algorithm, the algorithms now are better at predicting what your spouse wants than you can possibly be. You know, it's that sort of that sort of intelligence out there.
Gail, this is the Mass Tech. Could you go over what it is you'll be attending again?
Sure. So the Massachusetts Technology, so Mass Tech, is holding a digital equity summit in Worcester on June 13th. And it's a statewide event for municipalities who are interested in learning more about federal and state money for digital equity initiatives.
I guess Mass Tech is still under Massachusetts Broadband Institute.
Other way around.
Mass Tech,
okay. MBI is underneath it. Yeah.
Okay, right. I knew they were. Yes, because they're all in it together. Yeah.
Yep.
Mass Tech Collaborative, right? Is I recall.
Sounds right.
MTC. I don't know what their third letter is. MTI Institute. Hold on, I'll look it up.
I've seen the circulars. I just couldn't remember the details.
While you're looking that up, I'll put in a plug for the ECAC, the town ECAC committee, Energy and Climate Action. They got a community choice aggregation thing on the town warrant.
Oh, great!
So half of the towns, I think I mentioned before, half of the towns in the state are already doing this. The Department of Public Utilities is in stall mode to slow up towns doing it. Some of the legislators I know are pushing the DPU, actually putting a bill to make the DPU respond more quickly so that towns don't have to wait a year for to get their proposal approved. But anyhow, the next step is the town has to decide to do it, and it's hard to imagine that saving money and doing what the rest of the state is doing successfully in saving money. Oh, and you can opt out, so it's hard to imagine that anyone would have a problem with it. But the other thing I forgot to say before I did in looking in the town hall where our main panel is, it feeds our hut 100 amp circuit breaker in the main panel, and I noticed there's no panel board surge protector. So I mentioned that to Becky that I could ask Pachorak to recommend a panel board protector and give a price for that. She said, yeah, that'd be great. So I'll copy you when I ask Pachorak for a proposal, Gail. I'm sure he'll have just the thing. And full disclosure, we benefit. These things are, if it's upstream of our surge protector, surge protectors, as we know, don't always help, but it's nothing like having an extra one. So so that's all.
Great, thank you.
Speaking of the digital equity, and this is different from that, but a while back we were talking about there were the funds available, the federal funds, the ARPA funds and everything, and how could we apply for this and what could we use it for? Is there anything still available? Has all of that been allocated? Jim, do you know?
Yeah, it's going into it's not coming our way. Let's put it this way. We could use it as we've talked about this before, but most of it, from what I understand, is going to the school roof. That's going to soak up a considerable chunk of it, and maybe some other minor things. But we put our hand out, but nothing has unfortunately come from that. The finance committee doesn't have much to do with it, with ARPA funding, which is unfortunate. It's mostly the select board. In fact, it's been entirely the select board's decision to, how and where to allocate it. And that becomes quite political, as you can imagine. So that's why that avenue didn't help us much in our various ideas about how we would use such funding, ARPA funding, if it was available to us.
Okay. I mean, because I had this thought, maybe we talked about it, and I just forgotten. But if we did have some money available to see if we could pay for homeowners to do tree work around their drop lines.
Yeah, that gets really tricky because it's on private property. Yeah.
I mean, I thought of that, but the thing is, that is our property. It's town property that we'd be protecting. So we're not doing it to benefit the private property owner, even though it might do that. We're doing it to protect the town infrastructure that runs over the private property. That would be sort of the argument I would use to support this. And to
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know when we've talked about trying to do this in some collective way in the past, it's always kind of been gotten a hard no. We had talked about like, well, how much tree trimming can we just do? And because it's on people's land, you get into the liability problem, and then also it could be deemed a improvement on people's properties, which you can't use tax dollars for.
Yeah, I mean, the liability issue, of course, you'd have to hire a contractor that was fully insured. Yeah, but that's why
I would immediately point at a tree that's near the house that I would like removed. I mean, yeah, it's a messy one, I think.
I mean, I just got National Grid to come in and cut a limb off a tree that was it had been leaning near my electric drop line. Finally, after this winter, it was on it. And so, they came out, they did a very hack job, bounced it off our line as well. But, National Grid was fully willing to come in and do that because they were just doing something to protect their line. Because again, they own their drop line coming to the house, just as we own the fiber drop line coming to the house. So,
yeah, I'll see if I hear anything about that. Most of these monies currently are for digital equity, and I don't, and so like network improvement or protection, I don't think this would fall under that in any way. To because it's not even improvement, right? We're not like upgrading head-end electronics in this. We're cutting down trees. And it's not contributing to the construction even.
Yeah.
So I think it would be a pretty tricky thing to try to get money for that.
I was sorry that we didn't get more. You know how for up to 150 feet on drops, it was self-supporting cable. But the self-supporting cable is not, it can hardly take a little branch hit, knocks it down. I guess we should have realized that our situation was such that we needed to run the 1/4-inch steel, even on drops. So, but hindsight.
Yeah, it's still our biggest expense, and the storm certainly showed us that. On the upside, I mean, I think that even if we get some big storms over the next year or two, we won't see the same thing, because everything that was vulnerable or fragile has been taken down in a big way. It's
Yeah.
all gone now.
Flushed.
Yeah.
Gail,
Yeah.
though, I know I've mentioned this before, but there is I mean, I keep telling the town of Leverett, there's a tree that they've got to take, that Eversource has got to take care of, because if that falls, it's right near the horse farm in on North Leverett Road.
Mhm.
It's going to take out our link to MBI, and their link, to our favorite provider of
Yeah.
internet.
Castle.
A Crown Castle link, yeah.
Yes, and it's going to take them both out, and plus, I mean, it's going to be an enormous mess, and that tree gets more and more holes are bored into it by the woodpeckers and everything else. I mean, it's just a disaster waiting to happen, and they just seem to be ignoring it. I don't know why. I predict that's going to come down any day.
Yeah. Yeah, well, probably one of these summer storms, so it'll take it. Yeah.
They'll take it down. Yeah.
Well, thank goodness we have multiple pathways
Yeah.
for when it
that's
does.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, speaking is this tangent but related. And I didn't have well, have we gotten the second insurance payment? Yeah,
We have.
great. I could have, if I studied the spreadsheet you had up, I probably could have seen that, but
How much was it for?
Yeah, it's not, we just got it. It's,
Ah.
I have the check in hand. It has not been deposited yet.
Ah.
Yeah. Yep.
Great.
I picked it up this week at the town hall. So,
great.
yep.
Is it fair to ask how much it was for?
About 18 grand.
And the last one was around 7, the check.
Correct. The first storm was around 7. This one was around 18,000 for the $28,000 in damage that was incurred by that March storm.
So we've gotten like 25,000 in insurance
Yes, we have.
payments this year on a $11,000 premium. That's
Not bad. Glad
Yeah.
we have that insurance.
Yeah. And they're not going to increase our rates supposedly.
If we do see an increase, it won't happen until next year, but again, it's done collectively. Our for on a statewide basis.
Yeah.
Our individual claims don't affect it, which is nice.
And in the big picture, they don't amount to that much anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Last thing I have on the agenda tonight is that Mary Ellen in New Salem contacted me. They are looking to connect to Crown Castle, just like Leverett. So I had a nice talk with Graham about this. And just like Leverett, there's not a whole lot for us to do because it's all passive connection. They will work out the details of getting that circuit in place with their provider going through the Pratt Corner Road location. We're just passive, right? We will just pass their signal through. There's no active equipment in our hut. There's nothing for us to do except when the time comes to make that so in our hut. But we will have to do an IRU for them. And so I'm gonna write one, base it off what we have with Leverett, run it by Donna, and then I'll have you all vote on it after Donna does her review sometime late this summer. So that I can sign it for them and we can give them access as needed.
So are they currently just on the MBI line as the sole?
Yeah.
That is my understanding, because they're part of Wired West. They do shared bandwidth through Westfield Gas and Electric. But I don't know if Westfield has another provider or not.
I asked Mary Ellen, and when I saw her at the weekend,
Oh,
and she
yeah.
said she gets that they get 2 different MBIs.
Okay,
Um,
two
Ah.
MBIs.
Yeah, one in
Oh.
Orange and one somewhere else, and
Okay,
Okay.
that's great.
but it costs, and MBI actually offered the second one at a bargain at a cheaper rate, but it's still more expensive than Crown Castle. So so
So that leaves only Leverett, right? That is not a part of the Crown Castle connection.
Leverett gets
No, Leverett's got it.
I don't
Yeah,
Leverett,
yeah,
I mean Wendell, I'm sorry.
yeah. Wendell never did anything from Crown Castle, as far as I know.
Right, but Wendell might be included in this because Wendell is also part of Wild West, so it might
Yeah.
be some kind of share thing that's happening.
Yeah, yeah.
So the New Salem connection is at Cooleyville Road.
It'll be the
Cooleyville Road's
Cooleyville
the-
location.
It's the only connection we have with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are connected to Wendell, so I suggested, like, well, do you want to go through the the Jennison Road intersection that at that location? They said no, we'll use the Cooleyville.
Okay.
So
It's not real well maintained trees down there, but at least it's a skinny road that
yeah.
the trees can't fall far against each other, sort of thing.
I don't think there's a Jennison Road connection that goes all the way through. The phone poles stop at a certain point, and
It goes all the way through. Yeah, it does.
Maybe recently they put some new poles in or something, but okay, so that's another possible connection with New Salem. I guess I wasn't certain about that.
Yeah, no, they definitely ran it all the way through.
Or actually, that's the only connection that New Salem has with Wendell is via Jennison Road, because I know there are no poles down what is it, West Street? There's a break there.
Are you sure they don't connect
No.
on the north end somewhere? Wow, okay,
No,
that's
and
interesting.
there's no connection on the north end either. I think Jennison Road is their only bridge between those two towns,
Wow,
curiously
wow.
enough. So anyway,
Yeah. All right. Any other items of business before we take some photos here?
Yeah, well, I'm thinking of, no, but I'm thinking about the photos. Would we do better at the hut on, well, there's town meeting, but there's also, we're gonna be there
Oh, good point.
next, with the Sheldon
But
gathering.
oh yeah, we're all okay. So we're not gonna be at the town meeting, but we are gonna be there. Oh,
Yeah, there's a photo op. Anna,
in
yeah.
person.
Because I'm thinking, you've got that nice light that, illuminates things, but I'm kind of in the dark here. So
And Jim, you just look very suspicious in the.
yeah, I know. I'm sort of hunched over my keyboard here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, great. Well, great idea. Well, let's do both. And I'll make it nice for the website in some way. But yeah, I think that's a great idea. Let's do it. And in person as well. So just if you could tilt your cameras down so we can see your swag on you. Yep, there we go.
Oh, dear.
But wait, we need your head though, Steve.
Okay, let me take the.
I get the hat here. Oh, goodness.
Oh, guys, you are looking sharp. Nice.
Oh, yeah. Oh. And it's actually, I've got I don't know how I can get both. Yeah.
Well, I don't think you can get both. You can choose. All right, looks great. All right, so just hold a smile and I'll get some of these. All right, that's one. Let me do another one. And we'll do one more smile big. 1, 2, 3. Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. And yeah, we'll get a nice in-person one on at the hut. All standing in front of the hut. It'll be very official. So wear your gear again on that one. All right, anything else? All right. I will see you all in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye now. Thank you.